What's up guys, Chris here with another 4 Nights of the Apocalypse manga chapter review. And I have to say, this arc is shaping up to be potentially the arc that will give us some very nice answers to things that have been questioned from the very beginning of the series. We've already got answers to Donnie's connections to Leonis and the Holy Knights through Hauser, due to the fact that he is Hauser's nephew. But also, we might actually get the revelation of who Sin might be, as there, for some reason, from the end of the Sistana arc to now, we can constantly have the possibility of Sin being potentially someone connected to the Seven Deadly Sins or a member of the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse, constantly shoved in our face for us wanting to know who his true identity actually is. And once again, this chapter puts that straight into our face, and if Sin doesn't get his identity revealed this arc, potentially the next one, because if he doesn't have his identity revealed by the time of reaching Leonis, which that would be the longest for us to wait for his true identity. It's been over 20 chapters since his introduction, so we have to get his actual identity soon. And we also get some more pieces of conflict, and as well as what Hauser is actually doing here in Kant, this little fortress-looking town right before the mountains that they need to cross in order to reach Leonis. But, yeah, that's honestly what this chapter is going to be looking at. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. At this point, we should be reaching about 700 subscribers, and that's only 300 more to go to reach that 1,000 subscriber mark. And I am so excited to finally reach that mark with you guys. The 4 Nights content has been doing exceptionally well, and I know the last review I did came out exceptionally late, and that's honestly my fault due to a bunch of stuff going on in real life. I wasn't able to get that video recorded in time, so I couldn't get that video released on time. This time I'm recording the review the day of, right after I've read this chapter about twice. So hopefully I should get this out. This should be on like a Wednesday, Thursday release. But anyway, don't forget to check out my Patreon, link in the description below, with a multitude of tiers, with a patron-only Discord server, as well as with the different tiers having potentially very nice rewards. This way you can help me with the channel, and so I could actually get more videos out in the future. I also have a Ko-fi account if you want to tip me over there. I might do some stuff over on Twitter for potential stuff that I could do videos on. I will let you know on that as well on my social media. Once again, all that linked down below. Now, without further ado, let's get straight into chapter 26 of the 4 Nights of the Apocalypse, titled Uncle and Nephew. We start off in the manger, where Sylvain, the horse that belongs to An, is basically telling Sin how rough he has it, and that he's got to get all the 4 Nights of the Apocalypse, look after them, and bring them to Leonis under severe conditions. And even Sin is agreeing that babysitting them is a pain. So obviously his mission is to collect the 4 Nights of the Apocalypse, and there are certain conditions for having to gather them. Most likely that one condition has to be with him now revealing his identity, which even Sylvain basically is about to tell us, saying that he thought Sin was a regular fox. But then he said, I had no idea you were really, and then we get this big crash leading up to a transition to the fighting arena. Now, here's the thing. I like that we're getting more teases into Sin's actual identity. It's something that I'm excited for. All the theories point to him being either Lancelot, someone related to Ban, since he is a freaking fox, and Ban is the fox Sin. And with the complete desolation of all those Chaos Undead, it's very possible it could be Ban, or someone with an energy-based attack, but it feels more reliant on Ban's more controlled, destructive, and precise destructive type powers. But for all we know, it could be Lancelot doing this in the guise of Sin. And he's probably doing this mission for his father or for Meliodas as something. But I really do want to see who he actually is, because I feel like even if it's super obvious that Sin might actually be Lancelot, or for all we know, Ban in the sky so he can protect the 4 Nights of the Apocalypse, which I honestly don't think it's Ban, because he does not fit Ban's personality whatsoever, so it's definitely not Ban. But Lancelot, I see it being Lancelot or potentially like a familiar for Bon, or someone related to Bon or Lancelot. Because it makes sense. But anyway, we transition over to the fighting arena, where An gets a crap ton of coins, wraps them up in a bag, telling Percival that that's it for the wrestling matches today, as we see that Percival basically just destroyed a crap ton of people in this arena, showing just how much OP he is against regular people. He doesn't even have a sweat on him, basically comparing it to just playing. And everyone basically starts calling him later down the road the new champ. So yeah, we only spend a single page with Percival and An at this point, when we cut back to the tavern with the confrontation between Donnie and his uncle Hauser, the Holy Knight Grand Master. And I like how Donnie's also bringing up a named character called Edlin, who apparently was someone that he used to train with. And Hauser is basically laughing in more of a frustrated and disappointed way, saying that he wouldn't tell a coward like Donnie. And hell, Nazians didn't even know that Donnie was under Holy Knight training. The only person in this group that knows that Donnie had a dream of being a Holy Knight is Percival. And it shows that he potentially actually is ashamed of what he's done, and that he gave up on his dream. Nazians is asking why the captain of the Holy Knights of Leonis is somewhere so far south, and Hauser just says that he's not talking to amateurs. But Nazians smugly takes a sip of his drink, stating that he has an idea of why. Now, Donnie, asking Nazians what it is, accidentally brings the Coffin of Eternal Darkness's handle up to the table out, and here's actually the thing. Hauser quickly notices it as he asks what that is. Donnie begins to explain that it's a piece of the Coffin of Eternal Darkness, but Hauser just grabs it, saying, how the hell did he get it, and he probably stole it from, and where did he steal it from? We know that Donnie didn't technically steal it. He got it back from Ironside. And if it wasn't for Donnie, then Ironside would have massacred the town of Sistana and did something very bad. Potentially, maybe resurrect the demons, because I don't think they're sealed, from what I can tell. Because it's heavily implied that using this will do something horrible. But when Hauser asks Donnie what he thinks this is and what it's used for, Donnie just states, well, to seal away the Demon Clan, and then he gets punched square in the face by Hauser through the table in the most menacing fashion possible for Donnie. Hauser yells at him in complete anger and honestly frustration, and I honestly think he's just straight up scared and is doing this for Donnie's own good, saying that if it falls into the wrong hands, then that's all she wrote for Leonis, and Leonis is doomed. I like how he's stating Leonis. Now, even though Hauser is a member of the Holy Knights and is the captain, it's highly likely that he has all of Britannia safety on his mind, but Leonis is on the forefront since he is in charge of Leonis' safety, aside from, obviously, Meliodas since he is the king. So I like how he completely mentions Leonis primarily, since that is the kingdom he is sworn allegiance to, but Leonis wouldn't be the only ones taken advantage of by the demons if they were resurrected. So I'm curious to see what more this could do, and what we can get some revelations between the time jump between the Seven Deadly Sins and the Four Knights, and what the Coffin of Eternal Darkness is actually going to be meant to do. Hauser then just says he feels like a fool for counting on Donnie, and that a spineless kid it's basically saying that Donnie's just a spineless kid that can't protect anybody, and he's glad that he gave up on being a holy knight. And that he's basically just stating that his sister is probably crying up in heaven right now. Nazians is trying to defend him and just saying that this is just starting to become a drunken brawl and that this is going a bit too far. Hauser is asking what his problem is, and we get another jump at Percival being praised as the new champion of town, which is honestly kind of hilarious, as they're fawning over all the mountain of silver coins they managed to win, as Donnie bolts past Percival and on. And I do like how Percival just spun around as Donnie's just running. But as they're seeing where Donnie's going, Hauser just straight up snabs all the money that An has, asking what they're doing with it, and is questioning why a child is betting at all, and if Donnie has put her up to it, showing how little faith he has in Donnie now. So, and look, from us looking in, Hauser is looking like a complete asshole compared to who he was in the original series. He was someone that has a ton of hope. But it's been 16 years since the end of the Seven Deadly Sins. Hauser is older, he's gone through a lot, and he has a lot of responsibilities. So it's highly possible that he's very, very hurt and disappointed in not just Donnie, but in himself. For Donnie abandoning his training, becoming a circus group, doing stuff like stealing, and he's afraid that he basically had to look after Donnie due to his dead sister's last wishes, and that they were family. And Donnie leaving and doing this stuff probably hurt him a lot. He probably does care about Donnie and thinks that just saying all this stuff while he's drunk, obviously, is a way for Donnie to either get his act together or go and do something that won't, I don't know, make him go down the rabbit hole of bad stuff. I don't know. I can't really justify this at this moment, but I can somewhat see why Hauser is being so abrupt with Donnie's past behavior. On the state, anyway, we get back to the chapter. An is trying to convince Hauser to get the money back since they needed to go over the mountains, and Hauser just says, like a pipsqueak, like her can't cross the mountains. But then Nazian's once again, I like him when Nazian's gets this overconfident, sinister look in his eyes when he says to give back what he stole from what he took from Donnie and the money that Percival and An made. And I like how Percival just straight up like spouts off the confident of eternal darkness to give it back, and Hauser's just kind of like sweating and embarrassed the fact that a kid just straight up like said something super important out in a bar with a bunch of different people. And I like how Nazian is basically just straight up calling out Hauser, saying that he can outclass him since he's in a drunken rage. Percival, in a very sweet way, asks if he hit Donnie, and Hauser just says he did it because he was a bad kid. And Percival sticks up for him, saying that he is great, and once again asks why he hit him. And everyone in the bar is just spurring on a fight between Percival and Hauser. But then Nazian comes up with a pretty brilliant idea to settle things. As we then cut to a bottle of what I assume could be whiskey or gin or something. I can't tell, it doesn't specifically say, it just says the first demon. I like this little Easter egg to the first demon from the Seven Deadly Sins. There's even a little design in the bottle. But anyway, Nazian basically challenges Hauser to a drinking competition, and whoever loses has to basically gets possession of the coffin piece and the money. It's very simple. And before I get into more of this, I have to say Nazian's, he's gonna win for one obvious reason. He is a herbalist. He can take in poisons and make antidotes for him. So it's gonna be obvious that he primarily, most likely, has taken an alcohol and has an immunity due to his poison mixer power. So he's basically cheating, if I'm right about this. So he's basically cheating Hauser, and Hauser's already drunk. So it's a nice handicap for Nazian's, according to Hauser. But anyway, they begin to drink. Hauser takes a shot, puts it down, and says that... And I like how Hauser's just being incredibly overconfident, saying that no man, woman, or child has beaten him in fights or drinking. We both know that they are both untrue, as Meliodas and Bond could just beat down on Hauser and drink him under a table any day. Or any member of the Seven Deadly Sins. You know, I wonder if he's stronger than Gil now. Sorry, I'm rambling. But anyway, Nazian just now begins to explain their situation, and for them to act naturally. As he begins to say how off this town has been, and that he originally thought it was part of his imagination. And he starts listing things off, like the Forge. It sold mounds of armor and shields with the royal emblem, saying how odd it is that those are added to special orders, not offered for regular sale. There's the homemade shop that An spent all her money on. And I like how this conversation is going on as he's continuing to drink out Hauser. Hauser getting a bunch of different reactions after each shot he gets, and is reacting to Nazian's just drinking with no problem. He continues to say that everything was priced despite every item being different. They were all priced the same despite everything being different. As he then begins to say that putting it all together, it seems likely that all the goods in town are fenced. And that there's the third oddity where if everyone here actually lives in Kant. That's what he was wondering. He states that it's all just a guess, but he doesn't want anyone to know about this, as Percival is now freaking drunk, same with An, as they got caught up in the madness for some reason, and now Nazian is basically the only one who was not drunk. Percival is going to be flat on the ground, as Hauser says that he has a sharp mind, and that it's too bad he noticed a little too late. As we then see a nice 2-page spread, with all of the members of town looking super sinister like a bunch of bandits. So this kind of ties into what last chapter's ending, possibly alluding to this particular scene, either them all being bandits or bounty hunters. As someone begins to walk up to Hauser, stating that he came all the way to Kant, this backwater area, and it was a very unwise choice, as Hauser just says that the rumors were true, and that he's finally here. As well as the fact that he stooped to being a bandit boss, the boss of a bunch of bandits. Nazians asks who he is, and if he knows him, and Hauser just states that he is Edlin, his apprentice, and he used to train alongside Donnie, with the chapter ending. I liked how this character was name dropped literally at the beginning of this chapter, only to be revealed right now towards the end, where we finally get another new character introduction. I like that the Four Knights of the Apocalypse isn't leaning on the fact that it's a sequel to the Seven Deadly Sins too much with returning characters. The only major characters that have returned from the end of the Seven Deadly Sins was Arthur and Merlin. We got Hauser just now, and while he wasn't a super prominent character after the assault on Leonis arc back when the Sins were framed for murder, he had little roles and moments in the original, but now it seems like he's being prompted up to be the Holy Knight Grandmaster that he was set up to be at the end of the series. And now I think this arc is going to be set up with Donnie being the hero to an extent, or proving himself that he has the heart of a Holy Knight and that he never truly gave up on his dreams, as the villain for this arc is his former training partner and Hauser's former apprentice, just like Donnie. Now Hauser is super drunk right now. Whether he is not fully intoxicated and could actually fight on his own merit against a town full of bandits is still up in the air, but he does seem pretty drunk, unless he has some recovery beads to help with his cumulative intoxication, if some magic can work like that. All I know is An and Percival are most likely out of commission for this arc, as they got caught up in the madness and got drunk themselves. And neither of them can hold their liquor, as they are obviously incredibly young. So this is most likely until Donnie. This arc is most likely going to be on the backs of Hauser, Nazians, and Donnie when he eventually returns. And hopefully this arc at the end will give us Sin's true identity, or right before we reach Leonis, because I really, really want to see Sin's identity. And there's also the possibility that the Hauser knows Sin, since Sin is supposed to bring them over to Leonis. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this arc. It sets up the major conflict for this arc, the fact it is primarily a Hauser and Donnie focused arc, compared to Sasana, which is primarily focused on Percival and his father and the introduction of An and her town. So this is, I'm liking it. I'm liking that we're getting arcs centered around specific characters, and this arc is obviously being set up to help with Donnie's development and helping us get Hauser fully introduced into the story and seeing how he's changed over these last couple of years. Now obviously he seems like an ass, but I'm sure we're going to get his side of the story within the next few chapters, because I really want Hauser to be the fun-loving guy that he was in the original series, but also showing how much this responsibility of being the new Holy Knight Grandmaster has changed him and hardened him to be a very stoic guy that will protect the people he cares about and his kingdom. But with all this said and out of the way, what did you guys think of this chapter? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What do you think is going to happen with Sin's identity? Do you think this arc is primarily going to set up Donnie and Hauser having to work together to take down Adlin, a former member of the Holy Knight's apprentice, a former apprentice Holy Knight? Let me know in the comments down below. And how long do you think this chapter is going to last? So far, every arc has been at most around like 5 to 10 chapters, with the last arc being nearly 10 chapters long. So I am primarily curious to see where this goes, because these arcs have been fairly short, but to the point. So for all we know, this could be a 5-chapter arc, fully encapsulating everything, or it could be roughly the same arc as the same length as the Sistana arc, building upon everything that we've learned. But yeah, if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at The Greek Weeb, and check out my Patreon and Ko-fi if you haven't already. And with all that said and done, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have an awesome day.